My favorite desk light accessory is a monitor light bar, but the truth is, they aren't perfect and they definitely aren't for everyone. Never buy a light bar until you've watched this video, and at the end, I'll share what light bar I'm currently using. One of the biggest advantages of monitor light bars, based on the advertising for literally every brand, is asymmetrical lighting that prevents glare from hitting the screen. Now, asymmetrical by definition means having parts that fail to correspond to one another in shape, size, or arrangement, lacking symmetry. So essentially, it should allow the light to provide more light to the desk surface and avoid shining onto the monitor. Traditional desk lamps have a major problem with this, so this improvement would be a huge upgrade. But the problem is that all of the brands and models that I've been using, only one, BenQ, has actually passed my very scientific asymmetrical light testing that I do with a white sheet of paper and cardboard. Now you can see actually brands like Basis and Xiaomi bleeding right onto the screen. This can be annoying, especially if your screen is high gloss. Getting your new monitor light bar set up and attached to your monitor only takes a few seconds thanks to a simple weighted mechanism that all light bar brands use. Most will have a sliding clamp that also hooks onto the top of the monitor, and the weighted portion helps to counterbalance the light bar. Getting them to fit properly on all the different monitor shapes, though, can be a bit of a nuisance. Now, depending on the shape of your monitor, you might need to create a simple yet crude hack to get them to stay in place. For me, with my 42-inch OLED that I use in my home setup, because it's so thin, I actually have to wedge a USB drive between the clamp and the monitor. Now I know this seems ridiculous and you could definitely use a different mod, but I just wanted to get this thing set up and running. And because I've been using and testing the Xiaomi light bar with the wireless puck for adjustments, I've never actually had to touch the light bar once I set it up. Now, depending on the style of your monitor, some clamps on the light bars will actually squeeze the screen just a little bit too much for my liking. Now, if you're like me and use a camera, finding the right place to set this webcam on top of your monitor can create some awkward Zoom calls. Because monitor light bars are typically 12 inches wide, it will require you to slide the webcam to either the right or left side of the bar. And when you make it slide behind the bar to get it centered to the actual monitor, it just covers the camera. I've noticed that having the camera positioned to the left or right of the bar makes it difficult for you to actually have a conversation without it feeling like you're looking off camera. If you do look into the camera, you won't be able to see people talking on the screen. And if you shift your body to the left or right to center to the camera, this can make the experience looking into the screen even more awkward. Now, the best solution I've found is actually expanding the camera mount so that it lays somewhat flat and resting it on top of your light bar. Now, this perches the camera up a little bit higher, which isn't perfect, but I do believe it's the best option to make both work together. There are 3 common ways to adjust your monitor's light: physical buttons on the bar, touch sensors on the bar, and a wireless puck option. Now, the cheapest option typically have physical buttons to make these adjustments, and these are my least favorite. This is mostly because when I push on the button, it moves the bar. Even when I squeeze the bar, if the fit is poor to the monitor, they will ultimately shift. Now, touch sensors like the ones on BenQ and Basis are an improvement over the physical button. Just lightly touching the sensor activates the adjustment, reducing the opportunity for the light bars to shift around. In the last 3 to 4 months, though, I've been using more options that use a wireless puck for adjustment. Using this puck versus buttons or sensors on the light bars means I never actually have to touch the light. Now, going back to the previous section about monitor fit, this is what's really allowed me to basically set it and forget it with the Xiaomi that doesn't fit well on my OLED. Depending on the amount of color customization required, spending a little bit more for a more expensive option will typically provide a wider range of options. The cheapest models that I've used were fairly limited, but even the wireless Xiaomi, which ends up being sort of in the middle of the pack for cost, is much better than the ultra cheap models that I've bought on Amazon. Similar to color range, I found that the brightness on cheap to expensive light bars can be quite a bit different. The cheapest models haven't been quite as powerful as the BenQ. For me, I really notice this at my desk at work. Because the room has quite a bit of natural light, it requires a much brighter light bar. Because even with the natural light coming in from the windows, the lack of focus on the lighting on my notes in front of me makes it difficult to see. I know I should probably just get my eyes checked again, but I think I'll just use my BenQ light bar instead. Using multiple monitors, especially monitors that are side by side in landscape, having just one light bar can create a really awkward lighting experience. And honestly, it isn't great for aesthetics either. Now, I've tried to slide the light bar over to move it towards the middle of my desk, and it just shines directly on the second monitor, and it looks ridiculous. Trying to attach it to both of my monitors does the same thing, except both monitors have light shining onto them, and this looks even more ridiculous. Personally, I like balance, and it can be really hard to create that right balance with one light bar and two monitors. Curved monitors present some unique benefits for the viewing experience, especially when you're using something like our Samsung Ultra Wide. But the curve of the monitor makes it really difficult to get the light not to shine onto the screen. Light bar companies have started producing curved light bars to accommodate for this, but I'm just not sure how well their asymmetrical light pattern is working yet. Because I'm personally not a huge fan of curved monitors, I honestly haven't even tried this style yet. But for the good of the channel, I will definitely look into this later this year. So after using light bars for the past 12 months, there's a clear-cut style and brand that I prefer to use. Without question, light bars with a wireless puck design are definitely the best option, and the BenQ is the only brand I've used to prevent that light bleed with an asymmetrical light pattern. Their Halo model is definitely my favorite, but if you can deal with the light bleed, Xiaomi provides a much less expensive alternative with a puck. Thanks for watching.